This episode of the Brewtallyspeaking podcast is brought to you by On Point Pomade. Keep your beard and hair looking on point with their line of pomades and beard oils over at onpointpomade.com. Use our code BSP15 at checkout and get 15% off your total purchase order. So thanks again to On Point Pomade for sponsoring our show. This episode is also sponsored by the Bean Bastard Coffee. Head over to thebeanbastard.com and pick up any one of their delicious hand-roasted coffees. Coffee lovers will also enjoy their hand-cut and handmade espresso candles and soaps as well. If you're in the Buffalo, New York area, head to their store located at 448 Elmwood Avenue. And thanks again to the Bean Bastard for supporting this show. The Speaking podcast is proudly sponsored by Rockabilia.com. With over 500,000 officially licensed items in their online store, you're guaranteed to find something you need. Use our code BREWtally and get 10% off your total purchase order. Now on to the show.
People say you have to have a lot of passion for what you're doing. This rings true because it's so hard that if you don't, any rational person would give up. It's really hard. And you have to do it over a sustained period of time. So if you don't love it, and if you're not having fun doing it, you're gonna give
up. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Brewtallyspeaking podcast. I am your host, John, and this episode's guests, more than one, is Davey and Hayley Cramer from Pop Evil. This is a fun one. If you heard Dave and I talk about a year and a half, 2 years ago at this point, you know that Davey lives here in Grand Rapids. You know that Pop Evil is a Grand Rapids band. However, in recent years, Hayley has joined the band, and she is not from Grand Rapids. She doesn't even live in the U.S., so it has a little bit of international flavor to the band now. But it's one of those where Davey and I always talk, because he comes in, he's a regular at the bar that I work at. Talk about doing another one of these, and was one of those situations where the band's publicist reached out and was like, we'd love to have them come on and chat with you. And it was leading up to the start of their tour, which kicked off things here in Grand Rapids at the intersection for their Rock the Lot series, where they play outdoors. They have an outdoor venue now. Sadly, I had to work that night, so I had to work the door. So when everyone came from the show talking about how great it was, I was just like, sure, I'm sitting here at the door, not enjoying being able to drink with everybody. But speaking actually of drinking, and speaking of Grand Rapids, and speaking of things that I did enjoy, this past week, as of like when I'm recording this, a couple of days ago, I tried a new beer over at New Holland. It's part of their Supernova series, and it's Supernova 3, basically, is what it's called. But it is the Zeppelin blend whiskey that they make, barrel-aged imperial stout, and it had maple syrup, vanilla, and I'm probably mispronouncing this, cassia, Cassia bark, and cinnamon. And let me tell you what, this thing was fucking delicious. This thing, when it's super dark, it's kind of thick when you pour it, and you get a really nice, the Zeppelin blend whiskey flavor, so a nice caramely, warm flavor, and then you get the maple syrup, kind of the maple flavor coming right on it, on the cascading into your mouth, basically, at that point. And then you get that nice, real vanilla-y kind of cinnamon flavor coming, and man, it is fucking delicious. And it's I believe it's also a pastry stout, but it tastes so good and sweet and pastry-like, and it was so good. It was really hard not to buy a couple more cans and just want to drink it every day since. But you have to be responsible. So we don't do that all the time. But if you are in the Grand Rapids area, and I guess New Holland, out in Holland, I would definitely recommend you picking this up. All of that aside, because I just want to praise this beer, because it was so good. I might go get another one tonight at some point. This was a fun chat though with I've never talked to Hayley. Typically, she's really busy when they are in town. Obviously, this is actually done for their first rehearsal as a full band. They hadn't seen each other since the last tour they did, so it was kind of fun getting to talk to both of them. And we talked about a lot of different things, finding yourself in the pandemic. Obviously being in a band is a brotherhood of sorts, or a brother and sisterhood in this situation, and to not be able to see your family due to obviously the pandemic and having to be socially distanced from one another, even if we did all live in the same area, was interesting to kind of talk about, and to, talk about the band's newest single, Eye of the Storm. The video, they're playing in rain. And I was like, what's it like? Like how, like it looks cool, like I'm thinking of, I think it was Confined by As Lay Dying, when they're playing in the rain and, smashing the cymbals and they're all wet and they move in slow motion and, it just looks cool. And I was like, but what is the reality of it? Like, because all I ever hear about performance videos is like, oh, it's so exhausting because you're headbanging for like 15 hours and like you're over the song and da 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 da. Now imagine just being wet and tired the whole time. So it was kind of cool getting to talk about the behind the scenes of making that new video. And you know what? I've been blabbing on enough. I'm going to go ahead and let's get into my conversation with Davey and Hayley. And I'll talk to you on the other side of it. About the new record kind of a thing. But no, it's funny, power went out when I woke up, and I thought Dave will understand this. I thought I had to go to Anchor to do this because it was the only place I knew of where there would probably be nobody around now, to where I could be like, all right, I have internet and I can I guess have a cocktail or whatever.
Yeah, it would have been awesome if you'd have been able to do it from there anyway. That would have been great.
Well, I almost wouldn't, but like literally as I went to pack everything up, I literally touched like my microphone, power came back on. I was like, do I still hit up Davey and be like, do you want to go to Anchor and do this anyway?
The answer to that is always.
Yeah, always.
Yes.
Well, I think that power.
Well, I think that's like kind of the funny thing at times is like when your show that's coming up on this Friday, as of when we're recording, I had to tell the bar, I was like, hey, by the way, Pop Evil's playing, like as soon as I got the date. And they're like, that's too far away to really care. And I was like, you're going to forget though. Because the tendency is as soon as Dave's done, usually it's almost like a race. Like how fast, as soon as you're off stage, can you get to the bar?
That's it. I do the same thing when I get home from the airport too. Like, how many times I have you ever seen me walk in there with my luggage?
No.
I do it all the time. I throw it right in that first booth and I walk straight up to the bar, get a beer and a shot. They just hand it to me. I don't even ask for it.
Those are always the best bars though. Like, I mean, there's a handful of bars, even in the limited travel I've been doing, where I've gone there enough that they know me and they're just like, Jack and Coke. And I'm like, I will take one.
Perfect.
So how are you? I mean, you guys are guys and gals, sorry. Probably really priming for the show Friday and kicking off the tour, aren't you?
Yeah, we're getting everything started like right now. This is the first time I've actually seen Hayley. I just walked in like 2 minutes before the interview. I forgot my hoodie on and everything.
I'm going to give you one more hug.
It's my actual first time seeing her, dude. So,
I mean, I guess that's kind of the interesting thing, at times is thinking about how bandmates don't have to live in the same city anymore. Like now that you can kind of be wherever, you can send files to one another when you're writing songs and so forth. So actually living near each other doesn't have to be a thing. So it is kind of weird to think that you probably don't see your bandmates as much as people would think.
Right. Yeah. Like Hayley's in the UK. I mean, I'm a Grand Rapids guy. I think another one of us lives down in Florida. I mean, we're kind of spread out all over the place, but it's good to get back together. Like as soon as we get back together, I mean, the camaraderie that's there, it's great to catch up. Like there's like, I wanted to talk to Hayley about a bunch of stuff, but I was like, oh, we got to do this. So, yeah.
I think what happens when you're out on the road with people is you do build this bond that you can't break. Like obviously when you're out on the road, you have fallings out and you the highs and the lows, but there's something that happens that you cannot break that bond. And no matter how much time goes, like it's just there. It's a thing, and it's awesome. So
yeah, you become like a total family unit for sure.
It's funny kind of saying that because I know having like actually a sponsor of mine from Rockabilia, he's over in Italy right now, And the other day he was texting me, he's like, yeah, I'm getting my neck blasted, tattooed. And he was like, we're like 8 hours in. And I was like, fuck, what time is it there? And he's like, it's 1:30 a.m. Like the time I'm in right now. And it wasn't that late for us. And it was just kind of weird thinking about how potentially, we're able to be connected through all these devices and social media and so forth. But at the same time, I think we forget that we don't all exist in the same time zone, in the same plane, that like things that are happening to us aren't happening to everyone everywhere. But the pandemic kind of made everyone kind of go through something similar all at the same time.
It changed everything for a lot of people, man. A lot of like bands and stuff too. I mean, you see like so many different member changes and stuff, and just people reevaluating things. But I found it to be great, man. I went back to school. I started doing a bunch of other shit. Started to buy more properties, and started bartending. Like it's so funny because I'd be bartending. I'm bartending at this bar, 20 Monroe in Grand Rapids, and people are like just like kind of sneaking around the bar. I'm like, I think I know this guy, and it's so funny because I like watch him be bartending. I'm like, that guy's totally like trying to get a picture with me or something, But I think it changed everything for everybody. I think in a positive way. I think a lot of people that really want to be there are going to be there, and I think I think it was kind of a breath of fresh air for myself, at least. I can only speak for myself. It was a good eye opener. Like to move forward into, the next chapter of like whatever we're doing in our lives.
How is traveling right now for you, Hayley? I mean, I haven't traveled abroad. I've only really just traveled here in the States, but I've even made comments on this show that it's interesting to just kind of have to figure out very quickly the different set of rules that maybe you have to endure once you get somewhere, because they're not same from place to place. So how has traveling been for you?
Thankfully, Pop Evil has been quite graceful about this, but the traveling throughout the pandemic and just coming out of the pandemic has kind of stung me in the butt, if I'm honest. It's not just about getting COVID tests and all that stuff. It's the backlog at the embassy to get my visa. So what would have been an easy process becomes this like, oh, you can't get an appointment until 2023. I'm like, well, that's no good for me. So, there's lots of things, and people are feeling this in every single industry. The car industry, they can't get the chips for the cars. Cymbals, drummers, we're sharing cymbals still because we can't get the materials to make cymbals. So they're not readily available. So there's so many kind of knock-on effects of the pandemic. It's not just about, avoiding COVID and getting your COVID tests. It's everything. So any band that's out there, it's doing it now. It's all those things that nobody thinks of.
Yeah, hats off to you guys. Anybody that's doing it.
Yeah, it's a weird one, but we're getting through it. Yeah. What else can I say? Every day we keep navigating it. We're nearly through it, I think. But who knows?
Yeah. But yeah, you're catching us on the very first day. We're actually still running around, like making sure all the gear's working and stuff. We're gonna start rehearsing here in a second. I actually just came from the gym. You want to see my shorts?
Well, apparently it wasn't leg day if you're still able to do that. No, I mean, it's so weird to kind of, having just spent a couple of days, about a week or 2 weeks ago at this point, kind of following the Nothing More Atreyu tour here and then in St. Louis.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of interesting to see, and this is kind of more of a local reference, I'll say, but here, at least in Grand Rapids, it's been crazy to see our local scene really supporting rock and metal shows where, not saying shows wouldn't sell out, but it would be like a walk up kind of a situation. Whereas now, at least here and even in the travels to go see other shows, you're seeing these things sell out well in advance, or you're seeing them very well attended, even in spite of that tour, losing its headliner. But it's one of those where it feels like people want to invest their time and money in supporting bands and going to see live music and connecting with people again. And I feel like there was such a disconnect for many years, at least from my perspective, of going to shows. And it felt like people were only there to be at the thing, not because they cared about the band or anything to that capacity. Is that something you've noticed in maybe just attending shows or even playing the handful that you've gotten to, the few tours you've done?
I think so. Feeling the kind of the spark in the room, that energy, it definitely was a shift. But somebody once said to me that rock and roll always does well in a bad economy.
Yes, so true.
And
So true.
you know, it's like not only a bad economy, but like the pandemic. I think it leaves people craving that real thing that they can grab hold of. It's not in the laptop, it's not in your phone. It's that real moment that you live in, and I think that's what everybody's craving right now. So, you know, fingers crossed, rock and roll will have its day again. You know, I'm still waiting for the 80s and 90s to come back.
Oh,
So,
I gotta grow my hair back out.
It's coming back, the kind of baggy
Yeah.
jeans, and it's like, oh, come on, rock and roll is right there behind. It's going to become the thing. Fingers crossed. So I feel it, and I definitely feel the love from the fans. It really means the world. You know, when I am stuck at home and I'm struggling with the visa stuff, seeing people's love means the absolute world. It really does. You know, I think sometimes fans think, oh yeah, they're okay, they're rock stars, or actually we might not be. Like, doing this on stage pays our bills, and if we can't get there, what do we do? I have no plan B. I just play drums, I hit things, and you know, if that goes wrong, I don't know.
Something, you know, I think it's a good talking point in general. And if you don't want to divulge too much, you know, totally understand. You know, I would say between music and, you know, the pandemic kind of really forced me to kind of, I think, address some of the issues I was having to deal with that maybe I put off for a while because I literally had nowhere to go, nothing to do. I guess, you know, when you just kind of said I had no plan B, you know, as you're kind of in it, since I've not really ever talked to you before, Hayley, what are kind of some of your thoughts as you're going through these things and kind of, I guess, kind of having to evaluate the what if scenarios maybe that you've never actually taken into consideration, and how did you kind of navigate through that?
Yeah, it's a really scary thing when I sat there and I was like, I don't have a plan B. I don't know who I am without being on the road. It's a really scary place to be in. It's you know, look, I continue to pay my bills, but it's not through doing what I do best. And I'm all about when I do what I do best, I project really good energy out to people. When you follow your passion and you're doing something that you love, you can give that good energy to people. And if you're not doing what you love, it's harder to do that, you know. And I found myself becoming sad or angry or lost, and I just had to navigate through it. And there are a lot of people that have gone through the same thing. You know, everything you've worked your whole life for, you've trained for. I mean, there was an advert in England with this ballet dancer on it going, "Oh, just retrain to be a computer geek." And like, no, she or he trained to be a ballet dancer. That's what they do best. Like, support that. They're going to give good to the world by doing that. They're not going to give good to the world by sitting behind a computer. It was just ridiculous, you know. And so, yeah, anybody who's kind of gone through that and is coming through the other side, you know, props, because it's weird. It's hard.
It definitely makes you appreciate things a lot more.
Yeah.
Like little things that you took for granted, little tiny, little bitty arguments that you had on the road over nothing, really, honestly.
Yeah.
So you definitely appreciate it.
I think it was one of those things where, you know, thankfully I had, you know, this to still do, and actually did it a lot more since no one had anywhere to go. And it was one of those things where I realized that a lot of people didn't have that. You know, suddenly the thing that all of us are kind of bad at when we're actually hanging out, unless you're of a certain age, you know, like most of us who don't need to be on our phones 24/7. But I think it was one of those where you saw people actually trying to start calling people and just kind of be like, so what are you doing? And it's like,
Yeah.
sometimes the one-on-one connection of having a conversation with someone is invaluable. And it's one of those things too, where I kind of realize that there's not much stock in social media, because too often, and for, like I said, at Anchor, I work doors. So a lot of times I'm not talking, so I don't blow my voice out, but then I'm just watching everyone, and there'll be a group, of 10 to 15, younger people, 22, 25, and they're all just sitting there on their phones. And I'm like, why the fuck did you all come out to do nothing? Like, you're just literally existing next to each other, but you're not doing anything. Like, it's kind of sad to see. But then there's people, like Dave and all of his crew and everyone else that are our regulars, that I don't see any of them on their phones hardly ever, unless it's like, hey, here's where I'm at, and you're actually hanging out. And I feel like that was the thing for me once things kind of started getting back to normal. That was nice to see, as it seemed like there was more of a reconnection of people and experiences, versus just kind of existing in the same space but not actually communicating at all.
Yeah, I agree. I think I've definitely built better friendships through all of this. I think. Oh, Dave's going to answer the door. I got it. Sorry.
Good.
He's such a gentleman. But yeah, the true friendships, and ditch all that online stuff. We've sat there for 2-3 years doing that, and now it's about making those physical connections again.
Yeah, actually, I became like way better of a neighbor. So I had a group of guys in my neighborhood, Taft Street Mafia, or Taft Street Tavern is what we call it over there in Granville. And we just, during the whole pandemic, we just hung out in the garage and drank beers, and we never did that before. And now it's like, now that everything's like cleared up, I'm still over there every Saturday. So
I think it's funny to kind of see some of the lasting effects of the pandemic. I think something that was interesting to me was kind of figuring out the people who I guess aren't really your friends, but they are just due to weird situations that you consistently put yourself in. And it's one of those where, it takes something like that for you to really kind of go like, I guess we're not really friends, or like our relationship isn't really as what I thought it was, because I put more effort into it more than you do. And at that point, relationships are a give and take. The give a penny, take a penny. It's one of those kind of situations. And so to kind of see those was a kind of interesting thing to just kind of be like, I guess it's okay and letting go. And it was something else completely unrelated, but sort of related to online stuff. Something I found really interesting in going through some of the band's, YouTube videos and so forth, was that you all take time to go onto the band account and write like a thank you or leave comments, and then, like saying who's writing it. I don't think I've ever seen a band do that.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think so. Not to at least make it more personal, where it's like, this is who's, you're interacting with or whatever, and kind of sharing, I don't want to say the responsibility of the socials, but to interact with fans like that and to kind of do that. I thought that was a really interesting thing that I'm surprised more bands don't do.
Yeah, I'm surprised at that. Yeah, it's like, well, when you meet us in person, you know who you're talking to.
Right.
It's very obvious you're talking to Hayley, not Dave.
Yeah.
So I think just online we sign off as ourselves, because it's human.
I think that's sometimes the thing that from a fan to a band perspective, I think sometimes is lost too. I think there's still some that, and I don't know, I'm kind of on both sides where I'm like, oh, it would be nice to not have to have any of these things, to not have social media, to not feel like I have to partake in it. But at the same time, I also feel like it's sort of what connects the people to the thing you're doing and kind of makes it a little bit more personal feeling. But I feel like I almost am envious of, like a Maynard type person, where it's like, that dude, I don't think has any socials, and anything he does, when he finally lets you in, you're just like so enamored with it, because it's a little piece of something. And I feel like there's kind of that mysticism is lost a little bit at times.
Oh yeah, it was a totally different time though back then.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's definitely a hard transition. I mean, I'm probably going to show my age here, but in the days when MySpace came out and Facebook and all that stuff, like I didn't want to go there.
Same.
I really didn't. I was like, this is an invasion. Like, people are going to like, this is not what I signed up for. I just signed up to play drums and do my thing. That's that. So when it becomes that personal thing, I think it was quite a hard change. But yeah, I'm really proud of Pop Evil and the way Pop Evil goes about all of that stuff now. I think we've all been here long enough and adapted, and it is the best way, and it's the most wholesome way. It's the most real way. And then we can all go to sleep at night knowing that we're still who we are. Yeah. Not some weird product.
Oh wait, we get to do a normal meet and greet this tour, don't we?
Yeah.
No masks. No mask, shaking hands. You know, that's one thing I've always been proud of the band is what we've done with our meet and greets. Like we actually take time to split off. You know, with each individual band member will hang out with you for, I don't know, like 5 to 10 minutes and talk personally, and then we'll switch it up, kind of like a speed dating thing. You know, it's pretty cool. People like it because they actually get a chance to meet each individual. It's not just the the one person who talks more talking. You know, you actually get a chance to meet everybody, and I've heard a lot of compliments about that. So I'm excited to do these meet and greets again.
Yeah,
the right way.
Yeah, I think that was kind of the interesting thing when some of the touring was getting back. You know, you'd have the bands like I know S9 seeing theirs pop up where it was like they were on stage, the meet and greet people were like on the floor, and there was that separation, and they would take the photo where they're on stage and the people were kind of had their backs to them, and it was like I'm sure that's still better than nothing, but it just feels like it would be.
It's a little.
Like I would feel. Yeah, like I would be like, I don't know that I would want to go through with this where I'm like, I feel like to me, and it's not saying it disparaging to them or what they're doing, but it just feels like that's the connection that of the whole meet and greet point is lost at that point. And so I don't think I would want to even do it because it just that one-on-one time or that connection's not there.
We were usually pretty good about it. I mean, there was a couple times where, we kind of crossed the line by not taking our mask off and stuff. But I mean, we tried the best that we could it's how hard it is to try to make everybody happy. It's just not going to happen,
Nope.
Well, at least we got that out of the way. So this tour, the VIP is going to be all like shake hands, high fives, all that stuff. We get to hang out again. I'm looking forward to that.
What is it like for you, Hayley, and I guess I'll pose the same question in reverse to Dave, with the guys basically calling Grand Rapids home or Michigan home, what is it like for you when you're playing here? Has it felt like a second home to you at this point?
It absolutely does. Yeah. And I, from the moment I arrived in Grand Rapids, to be honest with you, because the people and the friends of the band all welcomed me in straight away. So that network of people that are there, and then you meet all the fans that are there. It's definitely a second home. And also, the climate is not too dissimilar to England. It's like the summer is a bit more extreme, the winter is a bit more extreme, but at least that there's the seasons, and it, I can understand. So
first day I met her, I brought her the Anchor. Think about that.
Damn right.
Do you experience all the seasons in one day like we do here?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah? Okay.
We have hailstones, rainbows, sunshine, everything. It's what we do.
Dave, what is it like for you now having someone in the band, that's not from here and traveling abroad? Like, do you feel like you now have a second home?
Alien.
No, it's been great. I mean, I have another family member, it's awesome. You we go back to what we were talking about earlier. You get like a connection and they become like another part of your family. It's kind of tough to like not seeing her sometimes, I go especially during the pandemic. I mean, we almost went 2 years without seeing each other, which was kind of weird, but I don't know. Hopefully we can get all past that and we're back,
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to just being back on the bus. And because, those times, that downtime when you're just sitting in the lounge, hanging out, having a chat.
Yeah, and you're with each other for every day for 4 months, So it's like when you go off and go to your own families and stuff, it's like it goes by so quick, So it's like it's really not anything different than it was before, I guess. Because you're going to see that person in like a couple of months for like the next 4 months. And it's like, and every time we get back together, it's like nothing's changed. You just pick right back up. I'm like, hey, how's it going? Okay, you want to get some food? Like.
You want
out of curiosity.
Yeah. You want to do this interview real quick? She's at the venue. I'm at the hotel, and I'm like running over here trying to get this done.
Yeah. Out of curiosity, do you find, you're talking about kind of, the one-on-one time with each other and communicating and just the conversations you have. Do you find that it's easier or harder to have those same kind of communicative type experiences when you're not on tour with the people that maybe you're hanging out with?
I mean, sometimes.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, I think I kind of get what you're saying. I mean, yeah, at the end of the day, we all have our own families too. So it's kind of, you do kind of like lose a little bit of touch every now and again. I mean, every now and again, the band will get like a group video chat going just to say, hey, what's up? How's everybody been? Just like talk bullshit, So, I mean, definitely technology made it a lot easier for sure.
Yeah.
Same thing with my family at home. I mean, I FaceTime them all the time on the road. If this was like the 80s and 90s, I don't think I'd be able to do that. It's totally so, technology is a blessing and a curse for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting because like sometimes I think of some of the conversations I've had doing this, and then like I'll leave, like we're all done with this, and then I'll go try to talk to my wife or someone else, and I feel like at times it's like it's just not quite the same, and like you kind of are jazzed from talking about something, or maybe the thought of something is carrying over, and you want to kind of expound upon it. But you don't have that person necessarily that shared that conversation or those ideas or, those things. So I feel like at times, having those great connections with, your bandmates or whatever, those late night, conversations, it's a little bit hard because you can't have those same, conversations or continue it with someone else when you're kind of in that mindset. So I constantly think about that, where I know people who like to talk, and you have those great conversations where you're just like, I wish I could continue this with someone else. And I'm just kind of not stuck, but like looking for it.
On the upside though, like what's that saying, absence makes the heart grow fonder.
Absolutely.
So I think it's good, like when we get these little breaks from each other, because then we get to go branch off and share other stuff with our families, and then if we don't talk to each other, we have all this material to talk about when we catch up. Like, probably when we get done this interview, we're gonna sit down and talk, like, what was this like, what's that like, how's so and so and your family doing. So I mean,
because when you get off tour, it's like, oh, great, I can go and hang out with a friend and not talk about tour.
Yeah.
And then
and that lasts like 2 weeks.
and then you come on tour, it's like, oh, great, you can talk about tour again.
When you get off the road, do you like, you're excited to get off the road, but then like a week later, you like want to go back on the road? Is that just
me? No, totally. My body, my physical body misses it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, the weird thing of like waking up in a bunk on a bus, and the weird way your body feels.
Yeah.
And you're like a little baby giraffe. You're like, I can stand up now. Okay, great. And then you head into the lounge, and there's all of you guys. That doesn't happen at home. Yeah. I'm still like a baby giraffe at home when I get out. And I get downstairs and I make a coffee, but then nobody's there.
Yeah.
And it's very quiet, and it's different. And it's like, oh, hey. Wow, okay, this is weird, but it's kind of nice. It's different. There's pros and cons to everything, and I think living this life is a really magical thing to experience all of that. There are some people that wouldn't want to wake up in the morning and be greeted with 10 other people.
Yeah,
it's not for the faint-hearted. Let's put it that way. But thankfully, good coffee, gets you through. So.
I think one of a thing that I would find interesting in it, and I feel like you kind of hit on it a little bit, was just I guess, changing from tour mode or your tour life to reacclimating back to a day-to-day thing. And I feel like, for those, I'm sure that listen to this show and probably understand this, but I mean, tour is a hurry up and wait game. Like, you're hurrying up to get to the venue so everyone can load in, sound check, do all that stuff, and then you're waiting for the show. Then you play like the hour and a half you get to play, and then it's, basically reset the counter. It's Groundhog Day, essentially. But it's one of those where I feel like, the lack of a schedule, I feel like would be hard to, like, you would almost want to get regimented in something. Like, with my job, I don't have to be anywhere at any point. I make my own schedule. But it almost becomes this thing where, even with a lack of schedule, I regiment my own schedule because I realize we as people want to be kind of in a routine of some sort. It's what's natural, I think, for us to exist in. And so I feel like touring would be like that and would be kind of hard because you're like, well, I don't have to do anything. I only have to show up here and then I can do whatever I want. So then when you're done, you're like, well, now what do I do with my day? That's why maybe you miss it so much like a week later because you're like, oh, it's kind of nice knowing like, all right, I'm going to end up here. Here's sound check. Here's this, bus call is this. Like you have a bit of a schedule even though it's not a normal one.
I think when I go home, I have my dog though. That's my schedule when I go home. It's like,
oh, that would be so hard to. I couldn't imagine leaving the dog.
That's that. And I don't know. I find a routine in other things. And I think this pandemic forced me to find different routines to earn money.
You found money.
I did find a little bit of money doing something similar to what I do, but it was still different. But I still had to find some sort of routine, as you say, because just to be drifting, doing nothing is not good for anybody.
No. What kind of. I don't think I've ever talked to anyone who's done a video like this, but I'm always intrigued. What is it like shooting a video where you're just where you're just parentally drenched in water?
It was great. I don't think we're never gonna do it again.
Never do it again. It was the worst thing. It was a hard.
Neck back?
Oh my god.
Oh, okay. His neck's back. It's very.
It was cold. It was very, very cold.
Yeah.
I mean,
didn't the heater broke like the day before the shoot, so it was freezing cold water for 9 hours.
Just imagine, like I feel really bad for Leonardo DiCaprio in the Titanic.
they chose to have the cold water to make it a more real
authentic experience.
I would never choose cold water.
No,
I can make it real, even
brutal.
if it's warm. I can make the struggle real. No, never have cold water ever again. It was The
video turned out great, but
I
think, like you're over there trying to give it's a video performance too, so you're trying to give it your all, and your muscles are naturally tensed up
because it's cold,
and then you're trying to perform. So I think all of us blew our necks out, and like. Yeah, it was hard. It was like 13 hours.
Yeah,
14
but you think
hours
when we headbang in
a
we headbang in a venue and it's hot, it's warm. You got the lights on you, got people's energy. It's like it's warm. It's hot, like hot yoga. Great, your body's supposed to move in that temperature. But when it's freezing cold.
It was brutal. Like mine blew mine out. Like after the third song, it started to swell up. So like in the band photos and stuff that you're gonna see on the new artwork that comes out,
we're all like this.
Everybody.
I was gonna say, is it the one that is actually taken from the set?
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
No. There's a whole bunch of promo after that, and we're all like this.
Yeah. My eyes are all swollen, and it's like. It looks like Dave really let himself go. Like it's bad. I remember being at the airport and saying goodbye to Nick, and I was like, "All right, Nick, I'll see you later." And he's Nick's a bigger guy. He's like 6'4", right? So with that frame, just imagine this movement. I was like, he's turning with his shoulders. He couldn't even turn his head.
I don't think I've even told you this. I don't even, so when I got on my flight back home. I walked on the flight, I had my backpack on, and I go on, and I realized that my seat that I was assigned was like the middle of a group of 3. And I looked at this seat and I was just like, oh no, I got to sit for 10 hours in between 2 people and I'm in so much pain. And I think the pain on my face, this the flight attendant came up to me, tapped me on the shoulder and went, "Honey, I'm going to find you a better seat." She took me off and she put me in a row of 3 with nobody else there. And I let laid out. But she must have seen that pain because I was like a hunchback. I was like, I couldn't move my neck. I was just
it took a good 8 days for everybody to recover.
It was bad. It was
a good solid 8 days. Like I was popping like, anti-inflammatory stuff. And I had the like little massager on the neck. And I was doing something at like 20 Monroe, and I ran into my guitar tech, who I haven't seen since tour, and he wasn't there for the video. And he walks up to me and he's like, "Have you been working out? Your neck looks really big." I was like, "Yeah, I never miss neck day, dude. Never miss it." It was like so big.
That's funny, as you were talking about the like very square way of looking. When I had gotten my neck done, that was about it, because like after 6 hours of getting it tattooed, I had to drive from Lansing back home, which is about an hour. And I realized as I was like at stop signs or whatever, and I'd have to turn, I was kind of like kind of doing one of those. I was like, it hurts so bad to turn.
Yeah.
And I was like, you don't realize until, either throwing out your back too, which I've done a couple of times. It's like when you are that stiff, it's like, that's all you can kind of do is you're like, if I just move everything all at once, that's going to make it less shitty. But
I don't think I've ever seen the guys in this band in so much pain as that. It kind of freaked me out because I'm on tour with these guys for a fair few years now. I've seen them in pain, like I know, but this was a whole different animal. I was like, oh.
Hey, but the video turned out great though.
It did. It looks great.
It looks great. Well, you got like those sweet moves, like with the cymbals hitting and stuff when they're wet, so they got that nice like slow motion.
That
like those
great.
always look great. But
I remember watching that shot happen too, and I was like, Hayley, you're gonna be really proud of that one. The way the water just came right up off the thing, I was like, that was a good shot. Yeah.
I
think she started turning blue. I'm not joking.
I burnt my arm on the oven a couple of days before flying out. I had this little scar. It turned blue.
Yeah, so we were like, we're done shooting after that because I felt so bad, and she was just shaking, just like. I mean, all of us. I was like, one, I couldn't move my neck, and then two is like if you stand there for too long and just wet, super cold,
weight, you
don't move, and then once you start moving, it's freezing it all over again.
Anyway, that's our sob story.
Yeah,
thanks for letting us.
The video turned out great. If you didn't see the video, check it out. Go check it out. See what we're talking about.
Well, I mean, the other thing to me is how do you choose the instruments that you're going to get wet? Because it's not a normal thing that you would do. So
it was for the drums, we got like a $130 drum kit that was in a skip. It was being thrown out by Sam Ash or something.
Yeah.
So it's like, that can be rained on. Great.
Yeah. And then the good people at Gibson, for myself, sent me over a prop guitar for the most part.
Okay.
It was a Firebird, like exactly like one of the ones I play. But it was one that was used specifically to get wet and to do like movies and to music videos and stuff like that. It was an actual guitar, but I think if you plugged it in, I don't think it would have worked.
Well, yeah. It's always just one of those things where
on a mile, it was terrible.
It's just one of those things sometimes when you see that. Like I know a lot of times drums for music videos, like the cymbals are, I don't know what they're made out of, but like when you hit them, they just are dead. They don't make a lot of noise typically.
They glue like 3 together.
Okay.
So they just go clunk.
Yeah. The only reason I know that is from watching the behind the scenes on the Hymn music videos, and Gas was playing and it just thump, thump, thump. And I was like, oh, I guess they're not real drums. I was like, that's probably way better for everyone else.
It take a toll on your arms.
It really,
it's got to be rough doing that.
Normally cymbals, you hit them and they go, and they look great.
Yeah.
But 3 glued together, you hit it, it doesn't move. So to make that thing move,
you smash it.
Good. And then for 9 hours.
Yeah.
Like if I'd have gone to like the fun fair afterwards, you call it a fun fair here?
Carnival
thing.
Yeah.
You know, with the strongman where you hit the thing, I would have been just like, bing. You know.
I think that's the fun thing of music videos. They always look fun, but even like Lee with the. When you guys posted that behind the scenes of him standing on that box, like the see-through box for the underneath shot, I always think it's so interesting because you're like, oh, I bet it's like so cool looking to shoot that, and it's just like, it's just a quick little piece of wood and some plexiglass.
Yeah.
So it's funny to think about all that, and I did kind of laugh because watching the video, I was like, how none of you guys got to have a nice dry part of the video that you got to shoot.
Well,
He still go.
He was there still the rest of the time. I think he had a little bit. It was a longer process for him because he had to do all that stuff on the box. So I think he was there filming the day before. So he actually had a longer days than we did.
Mm.
It's so wild to think of how long it takes to get a music video, to film it and then do all that. You should
seen years ago when we did the Deal with the Devil video where we painted them all black.
Dude, yeah.
That was a nightmare. We couldn't get it off of them. Nick and I just had it in our hands because it was just the guitar movements and stuff. But me was from like head to toe, like all the way down to his willy, and he just wasn't coming off of him.
That could be really bad, depending on who would see that and out of context.
It took a big while. I think his skin did not like that.
I think it's, something kind of interesting. I know last time, Dave, you and I talked was, when the new record was about to come out, and you guys are already putting out new music. Something I kind of like to talk a little bit about is just kind of the ever-changing nature of the music industry. And, I feel like it's going and reverting back to more of, the 50s and 60s where it was kind of singles and maybe a collection of songs, that would eventually either make an album or an EP. And I feel like we're kind of going back to that now that people, playlists are a thing. And, it seems like the typical music fan is more of a ADHD kind of mentality of like, heard it, next one, don't have time for a full record. Are you finding that it's more fun to kind of put something out piece by piece, or do you still kind of enjoy making a full album and kind of making a record from start to finish for the people that want to?
I do really miss it. I'm old school. The generation I grew up, in the 90s, we still did all that stuff. You went out and bought records. You knew who every band member was and stuff. In every band, you knew the guitar player, you knew the bass player. If they had a keyboard player, you knew the keyboard player. And I think that's changed a lot with the way everything has changed. I think starting in the mid 90s, late 90s, you really started to see a difference. You started seeing band members come and go. Of course, financially, it's like the whole Napster thing. I don't know if anybody remembers that, but you went from your hard copy to your downloads to now you're streaming, and it's just it's a whole different world, man. Like you're opening up a can of worms here because I'm just gonna keep talking. Oh, yeah. I even forgot the question what we were just talking about.
It was more just you got like a lot of people, and I know part of it is that you're in the pandemic, you can't necessarily tour in support of it.
You were talking about the singles, right? Like releasing singles and
that you already have a new single out that wasn't even on the record, and it seems like you're already gearing up for more stuff, new stuff. Mm-hmm. When I think a lot of bands would be like, Killswitch is a great example. Put out a brand new record. Pandemic happens 2 days after they start the tour. And, here we are 2.5 years later, and everyone's like, when's the new stuff coming out? They're like, motherfucker, we haven't even promoted and actually done anything in support of the one we just finished. Yeah. So I think a lot of people, it seems to kind of go in either direction where, people are still wanting to support the thing that they didn't get to fully. Or, I think some people like, a Bring Me is a great example of a band that's just like, we're going to put out music and we're going to put out this song, or we're going to put out this EP. And if you like it, cool. And if you don't, well, wait until the next one. Cause it's not coming, 2 years later, it'll be maybe 2 months. So it was more of a question of, do you enjoy the kind of immediacy of releasing singles and kind of dropping them every so often, or the build up to a full record and kind of releasing something as a collection?
I personally like the buildup of a full record. I think the most fun I had was the Lions record, the white record that we did. We did a lot of that. We did a lot of that stuff organically. There's pros and cons to it and everything, but I'm not really a big studio guy. I actually hate the studio, but I miss it. We
spent a lot of time on that together. Behind
the scenes. Yeah. And all the drum loops on that record are all organically. They're all like some of the lower end stuff. We were in trash dumpsters kicking them and miking that up and then just creating our sounds and drum loops that way with like banging cupboard doors, 2x4s on the ground, slamming those down.
And then that would be put into the electric kit.
This one was a kid. She was like a kid in a candy store. Oh, I got this idea.
I had three kits. I had 3 kits, and then the electric kit. I remember like going through all the sounds that we put in with real time with the producer Kato, and like, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think? And he was like, yeah, put that down. And then I jump onto another kit that was all trashed and mucked up and crazy, and then I go back to the big rock kit, and it's like
jumping on a kit that sounded like the video kit.
Hopefully we'll get to make a record like that again one day. But in this time, getting the songs out one by one and just, not sitting for 3 months. Okay, well, that's our album time.
There's a lot of material that gets wasted there too. Because I don't think people actually go buy everything. A lot of people nowadays, the majority, I think, I just buy singles. I mean, I might be wrong on that.
They don't even buy them.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's a look. The industry has always been ever changing. It will always be ever changing, and adapting how you make music is part of the artistry of it, and being open to it. You know, yeah. Me and Dave would love to sit for 3 months in a nice little house in Union, Michigan, over a lake and craft an album.
Some wind chimes.
On the balcony and just, oh yeah, this is nice. But you know, that's not at the moment in this climate. We can't do that, and I don't think many bands can do that at all. You know, it's too fast paced right now.
She just brought up so many memories.
Right.
We made our own little organic drums in the kitchen late night one night about 3 o'clock in the morning.
And there was one sound. You kicked a door down.
Oh yeah.
You had to fix it.
I broke a door in the Airbnb trying to get this. I fixed it though. Yeah, I fixed it. I put it back together.
But we had time to fix it.
Yeah.
Because we spent our time on that album. It was lovely. But you know, no, we've got to be more fast paced. That's the way the world is at the moment.
It's the way to stay relevant, I guess. You know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was kind of interesting because, like, I remember talking to Dennis DeYoung formerly of Styx, and you know, he was kind of blaming, you know, our generation or mine. You know, it was like, oh, it was, you know, all you guys who don't, you know, buy records anymore. As I literally have probably like 20 grand worth of records sitting over here. Yeah. And it was one of those where I was like, you know, and I felt kind of hindsight. I was like, I can't believe I said this to him, but I was just like, no, I'm going to challenge that. It's your generation. Like, you were the ones that started with the 7 inches and the 12-inch singles and all that, and supporting an artist on one song and letting that artist tour behind the strength of 3 singles or whatever. Yeah. And that's all they would do. And it would be, you know, like a 15 package tour playing 3 songs. Like, that was your generation. I was like, if anything, it's always been that way. It's always been about selling a single, not a record. And I go, and eventually when records started coming out, you know, once digital came out, the fans didn't tolerate, you know, 2 good singles and a shit record. Like, you were held accountable for once.
But I miss that though, because there's a lot of B-side stuff that was like really good stuff, man. Like, you had to buy the record to hear that stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
But
like, I think that was
Pearl Jam, for example, like all their import stuff. I mean, that was some of their best stuff, like Yellow Ledbetter and Dirty Frank, and just State of Love and Trust. All those songs, man, and those aren't on any of their big records. You know.
I think that's a weird thing too, is the B-side, you know, the Japanese import single or the, you know, European single or whatever, where you get a live version or a demo or whatever, or even a completely done song that no one will have. Yeah. You know,
or even remember the hidden track. There was you always look for that hidden track, man.
100%. That first Korn record, I remember. You know, you would say with Marilyn Manson, Antichrist Superstar, there was 99 tracks.
Yeah.
And what was it? Korn, 13 tracks of silence by Korn. I remember that being on the sticker for the CD. It was why is that a selling point?
It was just I think it was just something cool for the listener, you know, to have, to like maybe get something, you know. I guess it's like unwrapping Pokemon cards. You never know what you're gonna get, you know.
Well, I feel like a lot of it was more. There was a lot of room on a CD at the time, and people needed to learn how to, or just had so much space that they were like, "Fuck it, let's do a hidden track." Or
you know what I really miss though? Being a kid, going to the record store and just staying there for hours listening to bands you never even heard of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and then you'd meet people there too. You know.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking the other day, granted, literally computers don't have this and people don't really have CDs to do this anymore, but the enhanced CD, do you remember those for the short-lived time?
What was that? That was...
So, like, you would have a CD, you'd put it in, like, White Pony, for example. You put that in, and they had the Pac-Man game where you were the pony going around and having to avoid all the band member heads trying to eat you. But then you could go...
I missed that.
Yeah, I missed that one, too. That is amazing. Now I want it.
But then they all... Well, I was gonna say, and then the flip side of that is they had like digital content, so they had like them performing or tracking like one of the songs on the record, little interviews and so forth.
Yeah.
But that was fun,
like the behind the scenes DVD that came with it, and like.
Well, no, this was just on the CD. So like if you put your CD into your computer, it had like extra content that was only available on that CD.
Oh,
so that was a weird thing.
Nick for the interview.
Yeah, Nick would know about this.
Me and Dave, not so much.
But that was a very
And Nick is playing games.
Yeah, that was a very short-lived thing that I remember kind of being like, ooh, this is an enhanced CD. I can't wait to go home and see what's on this, even though a lot of times it wasn't too much. Do you feel that, it's as I kind of was talking, like I said, with the Nothing More Chae dudes the other day, I was kind of making reference to obviously their original singer not being in the band anymore. And I was like, a lot of people obviously gave the band crap for moving on without Alex. And I was like, but you guys put out that behind the scenes DVD of you making one of your records, and it showcases that you, Brandon, were writing a lot of the material even back then. So it's weird to see people, not realizing that.
Look,
adversely, oh, go ahead.
Sorry, carry on.
Oh, I was just going to say, adversely, do you enjoy is it kind of hard at times when you put out some of these behind the scenes type things and people who watch it so often, this little snapshot of a part of your life, and then maybe reference it to you where you're like, I don't remember that. Or it was just a thing that I wasn't even aware of that was being recorded, and it's cool. It means something to you, but is it weird to kind of have some of these things where maybe people come and talk to you about them?
I think it'd be great to have that sort of stuff. We should do more of that behind the scenes stuff. Cause it's a diary of your life, dude. So
yeah,
whether it be good or bad, it's just like music. It's going to take you back to that moment in your life. Be like, oh, that was great. Or, oh, but yeah, I think we should do more of that kind of stuff.
Bring back the enhanced CD.
I had a funny moment with that, I think our Onyx record. We were doing the Onyx record in Chicago. And we were doing it at Johnny K's studio, and Seven Dust just put out, I can't remember which one. It's the one with the heart on it. It's all silver, you know what I mean? And it's like a gold heart. I'm sitting there, and I think it was one of those CDs that came out that had the DVD with it, right? So I was sitting there, I had some downtime, and I threw the DVD in on the couch on the big TV, and I'm sitting there watching the DVD, and there's a part in the video that I'm watching that I realized that I'm watching LJ and Morgan give this interview, and I'm sitting on the same fucking couch.
Yeah. I had a similar thing with the Lamb of God record. So there was Lamb of God came out, and it was the behind the scenes DVD. Yeah. And they were tracking stuff in Virginia, and I was sitting in Virginia at the time with my previous band. I was like, I'm in Virginia. This is Lamb of God. And then I was thinking, the drummer from Lamb of God maybe cycle past. I cycle to the studio every day because it gets my legs ready. I'm like, oh, I need to cycle in Virginia. I'm in Virginia. Like, it's amazing how those things like speak to you. It's not necessarily just for fans. It's like for other musicians as well. It's like, oh, hey,
you got to remember we're fans too.
Right?
Exactly.
Did you then go run around the block like Randy 3 times to then record your drum part?
Oh! If I was recording that, no, I don't. I should run around the block.
I just remember that from that DVD always kind of striking me.
They were like, "Get around the block 3 times." He comes back. Yeah, it's amazing. But yeah, but look at us talk like that stuff. We should do more of this stuff.
We should
because it does. It means something to everyone,
Yeah.
Seeing,
I think it's a win for everybody.
You'll never see me run around the block 3 times.
Once?
You'll see me run to the bar, but you won't see me run around the block.
Just do a Chinese fire drill around the drum kit. Everyone switches instruments real quick for the end of a song. I don't even know if you can say that anymore. I just realized as I said it.
I don't think you can do that. I'm glad you did it and I didn't. So.
Well, whatever. Yeah, exactly. Moving on. This is kind of maybe an odd question. Do you enjoy starting the tour at home or ending it at home?
Neither. I would rather.
Neither.
I would rather play our hometown like mid or just like
right when you're in the middle of
4 weeks in, 4 weeks. Yeah.
Everything's dialed in.
It seems like every time we come home, I mean, I know a lot of people don't notice that, but I think we notice. Either when you start at the very beginning, you're always going to have something go wrong.
Yeah.
Gear sits for a period of time. You're a little rusty. You're not quite in your stage shape yet. And then by the end of the tour, you're just kind of burned out. And it's like it's like right in the middle where everything's fresh and you're clicking. Everybody on stage is moving. You kind of know it's.
There is a point mid-tour when you're very aware that this is your strongest.
Yeah.
This is like this. Everything is as it should be. And back into the tour. Look, imagine if you just spent 3 months in something that was smaller than your house, maybe smaller than your kitchen and lounge, with 11 or 12 other people. You kind of want to get the heck out of there. You're done.
That's why I started golfing, to be honest with you.
It's like at the end of the tour, it is that point where everybody on that bus or everybody is kind of ready for it to be done. Not that those shows are not special. They are.
Not
they're
in
special,
any sort of bad way.
They're
either.
special in a way that it's like victorious. We made it. It's done. But where you feel your best is like right in that mid tour.
Yeah, I would love to.
It's like a magic. Like it's a
well-oiled
well-oiled machine. It's like, come on, yeah.
I should tell your booking agent next time. Next time, middle of the tour.
Middle of the tour.
But there's something to be said though. It is that last show, and it is you bring this energy that you didn't realize you had, and that's kind of a magic thing.
Yeah,
and I suppose as an audience member, you're getting something different. You're getting this is the very last of me.
Yeah,
and it's kind of poignant in a way.
Well put.
You know,
very well put.
It's just different. But yeah, I think we feel our best physically and mentally in the middle of the tour.
Yeah.
I feel like for me, a lot of the fun is more kind of like when things go wrong. It's always kind of funny to me to watch each other like, oh, maybe you didn't quite hit the fill or something, or like, fuck, I flubbed that note or whatever. And just watching each other be like, I saw that, or I heard it. And then just kind of seeing each other laugh it off. Like, I don't know if a lot of people notice those kind of non-verbal clues when things like that happen. But to me, when it's not like catastrophic, where you're looking back at a tech being like, yo, what the fuck? Like, everything's fucking wrong. Please help. Like, kind of a thing. But like when it's fun and funny, those are some of the more enjoyable moments from my perspective of watching the band. Cause I'm like, that's a real moment I actually got to see. And maybe no one else kind of caught it because you're trying to, play it off like you didn't mess up. But I think those are the fun moments of going to shows for me.
Sure, man.
Yeah, they can be. Sure, man. Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
That's all I got on that. Sure, man. I know that I'm dying inside, probably.
I was going to say, kind of going back to the music video, did anyone slip? Because I mean, with you guys having to do some of the jumps and stuff, okay.
I think Joey
rolled backwards
a couple times,
quite a lot.
Yeah, I slipped pretty hard, like right out the gate, like second take, and I was like, I'm not doing that. I'm not getting hurt. And Joe was all in though. He's like, I'm going for it. I'm going. He got some great shots, and then after seeing those shots, I was like pretty jealous. I was like, I can jump too.
Well, that was the thing, is like seeing, like, I think it was like the jump into like the 360 with like kind of windmill thing with it. That I was just like, that's really fucking ballsy. And especially I think you guys he was wearing Converse. I was like, you could have just tore an ACL or like just fuck up your knees or something.
The floor was so slippery as well, man.
Yeah,
he even just walking, it was like an ice rink.
Yeah, I think Lee went down a couple times too. Yeah. I think the only one was the only two. Nick and Hayley are the only ones.
I almost the kit almost went because I stood up and pushed my hands into the kit, and it was like, that kit is not holding me today. My kit on stage is like bolted down. This kit is not, and off we go.
See, and that's the B-roll that we need to see. The behind the
100%.
scenes.
Yeah.
It exists somewhere. So that'll be on the upcoming whatever DVD. What kind of been wrapping up, what are you guys looking forward to, guys and gals? I'm really bad at that. My grandmother would be so disappointed that I say that. She would always correct people. Like, we would go out to eat, my family, and a waiter would be like, what do you guys like to drink? And she'd be like, I don't know about the guys, but us women would like. So it made it real awkward. So I'm kind of actually ashamed, but I'm still saying like you guys out of habit. But what are you all looking forward to with the rest of this year, and kind of maybe even looking into next year, since I'm sure your schedule's already kind of starting to fill up for that? I know you probably can't talk about some of it potentially.
You know what? I heard a rumble just a minute ago. You probably didn't hear it, but I heard like a stage rumble, and that, like, I got really excited because I haven't heard that for a fair few months. Right? When you hear everything's firing up, just the excitement of a show, and Oh man, it's you're literally catching us like first day of rehearsals. We haven't heard our sound through.
Yeah, I haven't played my rig.
Exactly.
I haven't played my rig in a year or so.
And it really excites me. So that's what I'm really looking forward to, that buzz of hearing that loud force and hearing people in the crowd chatting away before the show.
I'm excited to play the new single. I'm excited to play that, Eye of the Storm. Because I don't think we haven't actually jammed that as a full band yet. So like today would probably be the first day. So
that'll be fun. It seems like it's the single's doing really well. It seems like the reaction to it's a super positive one. I think like I said, reading the comments, it seems like a lot of people are gravitating toward the lyrical side of it, and just kind of, I think, like I said, kind of having a shared experience over the last couple of years. I think has kind of really made that song resonate with a lot of people.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Has anyone gotten it tattooed yet?
No. Is that a challenge? Is it a dare?
No, I mean, no. It was more of a thing. Like I know, so like talking to
I think some fans have. I've seen some fan tattoos of the storm.
Oh, really? I haven't seen those yet.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, talking to James from Tesseract, but also Cage Fight. Their album cover is someone who got the band's like logo tattooed on their palm. And so it's crazy to even think a band that, hasn't even technically put out a first record or anything yet, and people are already like that into it. So I can imagine, like that song, like I said, seeing all the comments, I can imagine people are like, you know what, you're going to tattoo the lyrics, you're going to tattoo part of the album artwork or the single artwork or something. So I didn't know if you had seen any of those, which sounds like you have. Or she has, at least. You haven't. You're too busy golfing, Pink.
I'll be seeing it though. I guarantee that.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess. Lastly, where can everyone find you, or anything you would like to plug online?
Well, like our Instagram handles. Is that what you're looking for?
Anything, whatever.
Davey Grass at Davey Grass on Instagram. That's what I got.
And at Hayley Cramer Drums is me. But yeah. Pop Evil is where everything's at.
If you're not following us, give us a like or
there's
check
a link
it
to
out.
everything from Pop Evil. So if you find Pop Evil, you'll find all of us individually. As you were saying earlier on in the interview, we do speak personally. We comment personally on things. So come and join us individually if you want to. We'll be there.
Was gonna look forward to the show on Friday, but now I'm working, so I guess potentially I'll have to. Yeah, I got scheduled, so I will have to see who makes it to the bar first once the set's done.
Oh, you're gonna be at the Anchor?
That's where I work. Okay. So
I'll be there.
Yeah, I know. So I'll see at least one of you on Friday regardless, but enjoy the show. I'm like I said, very bummed I can't make it. I haven't been to a Rock the Lot show, so I was looking forward to actually getting to experience that whole experience of the show on the stage and all that.
I believe this is our second time doing it. So
yeah, I think so. I think you were one of the first to do it.
I think so.
Yeah. I was looking forward to going up on the roof and trying to see it from the roof.
Yeah, I'm just excited to see how they have it set up.
Roof. You said roof.
Yeah.
Say roof.
I say roof.
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 What do you say roof?
I say roof.
Roof.
Now the East Coast. Growing up in the East Coast, most of my family would say roof, and same with like water.
Roof.
Yeah, I say roof. Yeah.
Water. How do you say it?
Water. Back home, they would say water.
Water.
Yep.
Is it like pillow and pillow, milk and milk?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like that, but it's weird because like growing up like East Coast, and I've said this a ton. East Coast is so weird because it's in some instances it's kind of southern. Like in Delaware, for some reason, some of the people like the accent is a little bit more southern than it's not. But then it's like you go to Philly. Philly's got its own dialect in different parts of Philly. Then New York, the different boroughs. Pennsylvania's got its own thing. Like the East Coast is just really weird for dialect. But then moving out here to the Midwest, it was just kind of like weird in and of itself because it's kind of isolated a little bit from everything because it's not getting, the main cities or whatever on either coast. Like it takes a little while to get here to the point where like the first thing that was inherently Michigan that I had ever seen or heard was someone showing me ICP. And I was like, what the fuck is this? And then the one tour I did with a band, we went to Greenbrier, Tennessee, and as soon as we got out of the vehicle, after like 12 and a half hours, some kid was like, are y'all Enormosaurus from Michigan? Y'all like ICP? And I was like, man, that can't be the first thing someone from another state says to me. Like, as soon as I get out of a vehicle, I was like, I need a beer. But, yeah. Man. Looking forward to, I guess, hearing how the show went and seeing you guys soon. And, yeah, enjoy the rest of your day and your first day of rehearsal.
Thank you.
So that was my conversation with Davey and Hayley. Again, a Pop Evil. Want to thank them for taking the time to chat, especially given the fact that, like I said, they were getting ready to gear up for tour rehearsals. And, you know, that could have been another hour they spent running through the set. So always thankful of everyone's time to come on the show and shoot the shit. And appreciative of the time after, you know, when they were done with their show and they came to the Anchor Bar and continued on kind of the conversations that we were having and so forth. And especially for Hayley and I, having never met beyond doing this, it was kind of nice to be able to, you know, talk one-on-one with her face-to-face was kind of nice. So the band is still out on tour right now. I think they're in Canada with Shinedown, if I'm not mistaken. I think they were in Montreal yesterday or last night as I'm when I'm recording this. You can head over to popevil.com, though, keep up with all the tour dates and everything else. If you would like to keep up with Pop Evil in general, real simple, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all at Pop Evil. If you would like to keep up with Davey, you can find him on Twitter and Instagram at Davey Gross. And Hayley is at Hayley Cramer Drums on Instagram and Twitter. She is at Hayley Cramer. Again, just a fun, great band. And being here in Grand Rapids, you know, this band is one of those examples. And, you know, Davey and I kind of talked about it previously, where it's like, you know, when the band usually reaches a certain level like they're at, a lot of the people are just like, man, fuck it, I'm gone. See you later, small town, go into Hollywood, go into wherever. And I feel like it speaks to, I think it speaks to us in Grand Rapids and, you know, that we have a great city that makes people want to stay here. That was actually something I was talking about last night while working a bar shift was, you know, it's in more of my travels around, I tend to find that there is something about Grand Rapids that when I come back home, I feel like there's something, an intangible quality about it that I'm just like, yeah, it's pretty awesome here. There are other cities I like a lot as well, you know, Buffalo and Atlanta for sure. Nashville's starting to kind of creep up there a little bit, but I think by and large, Grand Rapids has kind of got a little bit of everything that I love. It's got the big city feel. It's got a booming, you know, music space, like where we see a lot of like live music and entertainments. You know, we're not too far away from Detroit, not too far away from Chicago, so you're kind of in really close to bigger cities. We got a lot of traveling options as well to go across the rest of the country, and it's a great little city. So if you've never been, I would highly recommend coming and checking us out. And like I said in the intro with the beer, we have great beer here. We have pretty much every awesome brewery in all of Michigan here in Grand Rapids. Bell's is about the only one that is not here, knock on wood, yet. But we have a lot of great things here, and so I love living here. And I love also, too, when people comment when they figure out that I'm from here or that I live here, that a lot of people are, oh, I love Grand Rapids, or I visited one time and I went here, and it's kind of fun to be able to connect with people on that level, just simply for where I live. Anyway, all of that said, I'm going to start wrapping up this episode. If you like to keep up with the podcast, it's simple enough. You can find us at BrewSpeakPod on all socials. Made it real easy for you. You can go to BrewSpeakPod.com. That has everything you need to know. If you would like to support us monetarily, you can go over to our Patreon, patreon.com/BrewSpeakPod. You can support us monetarily. That would be greatly appreciated. There are things and tools and all that kind of stuff and costs associated with this. So it's super nice when anyone wants to help out, offset those costs. Also want to thank our sponsors again real quick. You heard them in the beginning of the show. Rockabilia.com. Use our code BREWtally at checkout and take 10% off. On Point Pomade. Use our code BSP15 and take 15% off your total purchase order. Keep your beard and hair looking on point. And last but not least, The Bean Bastard. Go to thebeanbastard.com. Pick up some delicious coffee. They have soaps. They have so many other things as well. And if you live in the Buffalo, New York area, please go to the brick and mortar store and go check them out and support them. They are doing great things in their local community. And why wouldn't you want to support that? And you know what? I'm gonna throw out a real random shout out. I don't really typically do this either. Like, this is the first time I'm doing it, and I'm literally just came up with the idea. A lot of times we focus, I think, on negative things. It's real easy to get lost in the avenues of seeing social media, doom scrolling, and just kind of being inundated with negativity. Whether it be seeing something terrible happen, reading the news, seeing the news, there's a lot of shit things that are out there right now. So I'm going to kind of use this moment to bring to light something that's more positive. Yesterday, I was on Instagram. I pretty much am trying to limit my social media intake. I don't have Facebook on my phone. You'll hear more about that later in another episode. And I just kind of have Instagram and Twitter because I don't really go on them as much. And I don't tend to see as much like shit news when I'm on there based on what I follow. But I have been trying to get a little more creative with following accounts that it suggests for different reasons. And since I interact with a lot of dog posts, a lot of my suggested feeds and suggested videos are all dog related, which is awesome for me. But I ended up coming across this account yesterday called Wobbly Hannah to the Rescue. WOBBLYHANNAHTOTHERESCUE. Hannah, Wobbly Hannah to the Rescue. And it is a dog that is named Hannah. And she was born with a defect called, and I'm probably going to get it wrong, cerebellar hypoplasia, I believe is how you say it. And essentially what it is that her brain has been underdeveloped. So she is not aware of essentially it's basically her motor functions. So like her balance, coordination, awareness of her space, her body in space. And it seems like a sad video at first. You see this dog in kind of a wheelchair kind of thing and just kind of moving all over the place. And at first I thought, man, this is sad. I hate seeing dogs that are essentially not able to live fully functioning lives. It's super sad. But then as I started looking at the video, more videos, more photos and such, I realized that it's not the case. It's actually a dog. Hannah has such a wealth of love and excitement for life and all these kind of things. And for those on the Patreon who are literally watching me record this right now, if you can't hear it, my voice, there's a giant smile on my face because it's one of those where to see this dog who, by all accounts, would be probably a miserable life. Like I can't move around as much as I want to and all these things. It doesn't stop her will to want to explore and will to want to play and do all these things. And it's just so endearing and just kind of, it was a life lesson for a couple minutes for me where I sat back and I don't feel like we as people deserve dogs. I think they are unconditionally loving animals for the most part, and they just are so special and make you feel a certain way that most people can't. But seeing this video and seeing this string of videos on this Instagram page, I just had this sense of, no matter how bad the setbacks are, or how bad it may, the hand you've been dealt, that you can overcome these things and still live a really fucking great life and get to experience so much joy and happiness with the mentality. And I know it's weird to kind of find those personifications in a dog, but there's just, like I said, there's something so pure about them, that I just fell in love with this dog, and I fell in love with the message of hope and overcoming and believing in the positivity and good in people, because it takes a really strong person to want to take on a dog like that and to incorporate them into their family and to see what Hannah's owners have done for her. It just is, it's an amazing story all across the board. So sorry this got long-winded, but seriously, go check out Wobbly Hannah to the Rescue on Instagram, and I hope it puts a smile on your face, and I hope it makes you laugh, and I hope it gives you a little bit of reprieve from maybe your shitty day that you might be having. So I'll leave you with that. Thank you for checking out this episode, and join us next week where our guest is the incomparable Jeff Howard from The Used. This was a long time in the making. A nice 2.5 hour epic chat. Episode 350 I'll see you then.